living the American dream.
It was all about family. They wanted to provide a loving home.
They would have fun. They all looked happy.
Until a terrible crime plunged them into a nightmare.
You're like blood everywhere. That is something that I'll never forget.
I'm still in shock.
The investigation will uncover a well-kept secret.
How's your relationship ending up? Been okay, or? Like normal stuff. Friends with benefits, I was off and on. What you don't want to do is get caught trying to cover up for your friends. I didn't foresee any of that.
And when the truth finally comes out, it will be even harder to believe.
The whole thing just seems senseless. She had an ulterior motive. She had a different plan.
This cannot be true.
It destroyed the family.
Deltona, Florida, a quiet bedroom community right outside Orlando.
Friday the 13th, we always think something bad is going to happen. It's very superstitious.
Not that anything bad usually happens in Deltona.
It's just a middle class, suburban area, some businesses, but mainly residences. It's quiet. You don't really hear too much of any, violence or crimes or anything.
But on this Friday, the quiet is about to be shattered by the wail of sirens.
911, what is your emergency?
My roommate was found.
The caller is 37-year-old Katrina McConnell.
She was the roommate of Edwin Daniels and LaToya Woodard.
And according to Katrina, she's just found Edwin and LaToya in the hallway of the home they all share.
Edwin's been stabbed, and LaToya is crying over him with blood all over her. LaToya is in shock. She's not sure what happened. She can't really talk.
Does she know if he's breathing?
She don't think so.
Katrina hands LaToya the phone, but she's unable to provide any additional information.
I need you to tell me what happened.
Come home and
I can't. I know you're upset, but I can't understand you.
All LaToya was really able to communicate was her desperation to help Edwin.
Just coming, honey. Just coming, honey. Listen to me, okay?
Originally from New York City, Edwin Daniels was a middle schooler when he moved to Florida with his family.
It was better raising them here than raising them in New York.
That was a big transition from what we were used to of New York school versus Florida. That was the transitioning.
Once he adjusted well. He made friends easily.
He was always an outgoing person, loving. Anything you ask him, he'll go out of his way to get it done. That's the type of person. He was very loving, always smiling. He don't like argument, he don't like fight. He was there, a people person.
He was all about making sure that everybody else was always happy.
Edwin also had a knack for electronics.
He always loved technology. Always. So he always fixing things, putting this together, taking this apart.
He was tech savvy. Anything you wanted to know about gadgets, phones, he knew.
He started working at one of the phone companies. He worked for them for a long time. He loved what he did, and he worked hard. He worked a lot. He would work sometimes 14, 16 hours.
What little free time Edwin did have, he usually spent in church.
Church was really important to him. And myself, of course, was in ministry in the church. And because of that, he wanted to help out when they had activities.
We had a group for our young adults. And we all would do activities outside the church.
And it was through helping with one of those events that Edwin met LaToya Woodard in the spring of 2007.
Let me help you with that.
LaToya and her whole family actually attended the church.
She had a strong foundation.
Although when she met Edwin, LaToya's life was in turmoil.
She went to the Navy after she graduated high school, After getting discharged from the Navy, she was married, but they ended up getting a divorce. She had to kind of pick up the pieces all over again, build back her life again. She needed somebody to be there for her.
It was a need Edwin gladly filled.
Edwin has a soft heart for certain things, and sometimes he sees things that we don't see, and he was able to be her helper, her knight in shining armor.
They would laugh and they would go out. They were having a good time.
He really loved her.
Before long, the couple married, and LaToya became part of the family.
Over the years, we became closer to where we hung out. I stayed the night. She would come pick us up. We would go eat, go lunch, girls' days.
Edwin and LaToya also started a family of their own.
Those girls were his heart. Like, he would do anything for them.
He would come from work, take them on the bicycle riding. He would take them for pizza. He was always there for his children.
He worked hard to provide for them, too.
His goal was to purchase a house.
Although it did take a little sacrifice.
Now that the kids were older, LaToya took a part-time job at a sandwich shop.
To also save on the mortgage, they ended up getting a roommate.
She was an old friend of LaToya's from when she was in the Navy.
And by the spring of 2018, Edwin and LaToya could be proud of the life they'd built for themselves and their daughters.
They seem to be grateful, happy, feeling success for everything they have worked hard for.
But now, tragedy threatens everything Edwin and LaToya had struggled to achieve.
Edwin has been stabbed. There is blood all over the entryway.
You're coming, honey. Listen to me, okay?
When sheriff's deputies arrive moments later, Katrina and LaToya meet them outside.
I know. Listen.
Please.
Take a deep breath for me. Take a deep breath.
Oh my God. My baby.
Officers realized that the two daughters were still in the home upstairs.
The police entered the residence.
But they didn't know that the assailant was still there.
After more than 10 years together, Edwin Daniels and LaToya Woodard were living the dream.
They worked hard to be able to provide a loving home for their two daughters.
They would barbecue. They would have fun. They all looked happy.
But now, their dream life has become a nightmare.
The couple's roommate, Katrina McConnell, came home finding LaToya hysterical and Edwin covered in stab wounds.
Where is he bleeding from?
All over.
When police arrive at the scene, LaToya and Katrina inform them that the couple's children are still in the house.
Oh my God. My baby.
Police enter the residence and find the children who are together sleeping in a bedroom.
They brought them out and brought them downstairs. Then he went back up to finish sweeping the house to make sure it was all clear.
With the scene secure, first responders turned their attention to Edwin.
His body was covered in blood.
He was stabbed in the back of the head, the back of the neck, his back, his chest, pretty much all over his body.
And there is nothing first responders can do for him.
Edwin was pronounced dead at that time.
As the crime scene tape goes up around the house, detectives arrive and attempt to talk to LaToya.
LaToya is clearly distraught.
She can't really state what happened.
However, they are able to speak with Katrina.
Can you kind of tell me what happened tonight? What kind of brings us here? I don't know.
All she knows is that she went up to go get some groceries and came back to a murder scene.
She was hysterical. Was she standing in the door or was... No, I came in with the key. Okay. When she came in, LaToya was shouting, not making a whole lot of sense.
Katrina says that's when she'd found LaToya in the hallway leading to the garage, cradling Edwin's bloody body.
Did she say anything to you, or she was just like, I don't think he's breathing?
Katrina had called 911 and, in the process, pieced together some of what LaToya had seen.
What'd she tell you? She said she was upstairs sleeping, and she said when she came down to check on him or whatever, the door was open. Like that, yeah. Okay, so the front door is open, but you had to use the key to get inside? So what did she do, lock it behind her, or? I guess so.
Then, according to what LaToya told Katrina, she'd gone through the living room to where Edwin lay.
There was a little, utility hallway right inside the entryway coming from the garage.
Edwin, are you here?
Asked who might want to harm Edwin, Katrina says she has no idea.
I really don't know, his friends or who he, they're more friends with her. Right. Okay. Anything that you can think of that might be beneficial to helping us figure out what happened here? Okay.
After giving detectives a quick version of events, Katrina accompanies LaToya and her daughters to the hospital for an evaluation.
LaToya went to the hospital because she was hysterical.
LaToya was hyperventilating, dry heaving, obviously in a state of shock.
While they're transported, news that the police are at the house spreads.
My youngest daughter said, Daddy, LaToya's mom is on the phone. She wanted to speak to you. So I got the phone call, and she said something terrible has happened to Edwin.
We started calling around to different hospitals. No one had anyone by his name.
I'm thinking, okay, this is not good. So my husband went to Edwin's house.
I still see it. Driving around the corner, blue and white lights flashing, yellow tape around the crime scene, sheriff cars there, deputies there.
In a panic, Edwin's brother approaches the officers at the scene.
All they would tell me is that they were waiting for the coroner.
At this point, he's able to realize that Edwin is dead.
Didn't know how, didn't know what had happened, didn't know the fullness of it.
Nonetheless, Edwin's brother passes the devastating news on to the rest of the family.
When my son told me what happened, I was just out in space. It really went off.
I felt like I had no bones in my body. I just fell to the floor.
While the family grieves, detectives try to piece together how Edwin died.
This crime scene was extremely violent and gruesome.
There was blood spatter on the walls. It went all the way up to the ceiling. The floor was covered in blood. It looked like he fought.
The drywall looked like it had been kicked in, so it also appeared there may have been a struggle.
To detectives, it appears Edwin had been attacked as soon as he walked through the door leading to the garage.
He never makes it out of that foyer area. We know that because the blood was mainly contained in that area.
But who had ambushed him?
Searching around Edwin, the detectives found a possible clue. There was a Rastafarian hat that happened to be underneath Edwin's body. It was the kind designed to hold long hair or dreads.
Could it have belonged to his killer?
Detectives investigating the murder of Edwin Daniels may have uncovered a clue the killer left behind.
After taking a thorough look at the crime scene, we found a hat underneath Edwin's body.
Its location indicated it may have been knocked off during the struggle.
On the 911 call, the couple's roommate Katrina had suggested there could have been a break-in.
I think somebody might have broken in or something.
Maybe someone was lurking outside, saw Katrina leave, and thought the place was empty.
Had Edwin come home and caught the intruder in the act?
Hey, we might have to heat these up.
Maybe after killing Edwin, the intruder ran out the front door, leaving it open in his haste to escape.
They could not have left out the garage because his body was up against it, and Edwin was not a small man.
Although if the killer was an intruder, it's unclear how they gained access to the house.
There was no sign of forced entry. In the home, there were no pry marks. There was no broken glass.
Nothing of value appears to be missing either.
That could be explained by the fact that Edwin surprised the intruder, though.
There's no obvious evidence of a murder weapon, but detectives do collect several knives from the kitchen.
Since it was a stabbing, they would need to rule that out as a possible murder weapon.
The detectives pretty much took all the knives away from the home.
Processing the scene takes hours, but as they're wrapping up, detectives get word that LaToya has been released from the hospital.
After she goes to the hospital and she's cleared, she's brought to Volusia County Operations Building, and she's interviewed by detectives.
Sorry, in other circumstances, we have like a go to around some.
She had a little bit of time to bring herself down because she went to the hospital.
We want to talk to you a little bit about, what happened.
But first, they have some more forensics to do.
When she's interviewed, the police take photos of her and the clothing that she's wearing. After they take her clothes, they change her into scrubs and take the clothing in for evidence.
Once LaToya's changed, detectives ask her to walk them through the events leading up to the murder.
LaToya stated that she went to work that day and she asked Katrina to pick up the kids that afternoon. At about 7 o'clock, LaToya got home from work. Then she relieved Katrina, who ran out to run some errands, while LaToya put the kids to bed.
Then, as she was about to lay down to rest, Edwin called her and said he was going to pick up some fast food on the way home.
He said, I'm going to leave in a few minutes. I just said, just wake me up when we get here. That's our normal routine.
But according to LaToya, that night wasn't normal.
She said that she woke up a little after 10 o'clock and started wondering where Edwin was.
Because I was like, usually he's here by now.
She said, I decided to go check on him. He's probably asleep on the couch.
Sometimes he falls asleep downstairs watching TV.
She goes downstairs and she sees that the front door is open.
How open? And the door is open. You just barely push it and then it's closed. And then I'm looking around downstairs.
According to LaToya, that's when she found Edwin just inside the door from the garage, lying in a pool of blood.
And I just held it.
LaToya says she was still cradling Edwin when she heard Katrina come through the front door a few minutes later.
When she realized that Katrina was in the home, she did scream out to her to call 911.
After LaToya walks them through what happened, the detectives turn to broader questions about her and Edwin's marriage.
How's your relationship right now? Is it okay? I mean, like normal stuff. We fight. Yeah.
There were some ups and downs, like any relationship.
For the most part, they've been fairly good with y'all. Yeah.
She said that despite their minor disagreements, Edwin had been a devoted husband.
LaToya says she was just as devoted to Edwin.
Are you currently seeing anybody else that have a relationship with somebody that want to do something like this? No.
In fact, LaToya says she can't think of anyone with reason to hurt her husband.
Do you have any problems with anybody? No.
When detectives move on to take Katrina's official statement, she echoes much of what LaToya had said about their marriage.
She pretty much agreed that they argue sometimes, but it's pretty much just normal arguments.
Just a normal, marital, Yeah.
As for herself, Katrina said that she really kept pretty distant from Edwin.
I'll be cordial, but not, having too much possessive with me, like really how they want her to think. Right.
When detectives move on to questions about the murder, Katrina's statement also mirrors LaToya's.
She said she'd go pick the kids up from school. Then, according to Katrina, she left to run some errands when LaToya got home at around 7 o'clock.
Everything was fine at the house when you were. Right.
She said Edwin was not home. It seems like both stories pretty much checked out.
But after the detectives finished taking Katrina's statement, they get a phone call that could turn the investigation upside down.
A friend of the family reaches out to the sheriff's office and says, hey, I got this information.
He said, hey, I want to let you know that LaToya actually has a boyfriend.
That wasn't all the friend had to say either.
The guy that I guess she's supposed to be seeing, left his hat.
A family friend has just come forward with information about murder victim Edwin Daniels' wife, LaToya Woodard.
He says that his sister informed him that LaToya has been seeing someone else on the side. In light of Edwin's murder, he thought it was something that the police should know.
We met him at our sheriff's office and interviewed him.
My sister sprung that on me. You know she got a boyfriend. I'm like, whoa, she got a boyfriend? She said, yeah, she been messing with him for the longest. I said, wow.
The friend says his sister also has information that may implicate LaToya's alleged boyfriend in the murder.
She told me about the hat that was up under Edwin.
The witness said his sister had talked to LaToya after the murder. And during the discussion, LaToya had brought up the hat detectives had found at the crime scene.
And there's little reason for detectives to doubt that what he's telling them is true.
Detectives didn't mention anything to LaToya or anyone about the hat.
When the detectives follow up with the man's sister, she confirms that LaToya told her about the boyfriend's hat at the crime scene.
That kind of scared her because maybe she might think it was him that did it, or I don't know.
Okay. So it would be speculation that he was there and it ended up there.
Was LaToya right? Could her alleged boyfriend be Edwin's killer?
According to her friend, the man's name is Robert Andrews.
Okay, and what did she say about this guy?
That was her guy friend.
Do you know what a guy friend is?
In her circumstance, I don't know if it was a boyfriend, or I don't know if it was sexual. I don't know anything. She just said that was her friend, and they were cool, and he worked with her.
You worked with her?
Now that detectives have identified a suspect, they attempt to track him down.
The detectives head over to the sandwich shop to confront Robert. However, Robert was off of work that day.
Although the store manager is able to confirm that Rob and LaToya are romantically involved.
In fact, based on what Rob told the manager, it was more than just a fling.
The manager, in fact, did mention that LaToya was Rob's fiancée.
I think he got her pregnant too. Really?
The manager was informed that LaToya called in sick because she had a miscarriage.
You know if Rob's the father? I think so.
The manager also says that Rob was behaving strangely the day of the murder.
He was having some sort of breakdown.
It's just not fair.
He had a meltdown, acting hysterically in the middle of his shift and asked to leave.
You know what that was about? No, but LaToya took the rest of the day off too.
They leave for several hours before the murder. LaToya hadn't mentioned any of this during her interview with police.
But the timing seems significant to detectives.
Had Rob been upset about losing the child, causing him to lash out against Edwin?
Thank you for your time.
A miscarriage could definitely bring a lot of emotions for both the mother and the father.
And when the detectives receive the results of Edwin's autopsy, it's clear his killer had a lot of rage.
He was stabbed 34 times, 16 times to his head and his face, and an additional 12 to his extremities and his abdomen. He has a depressed skull fracture. His tongue was lacerated. His esophagus was lacerated.
We've not seen where a random person continued to stab somebody that many times. This was personal.
It takes weeks, but when detectives finally get Rob in an interview room, they have plenty of questions.
They even brought in the prosecutor. They really wanted to put the pressure on him.
We spoke to him in length, about 2.5 hours.
During the interview, he admits that he and LaToya were involved.
Tell me about that.
He told us they had been dating since January of that year.
Contrary to what the manager told detectives, he said this was nothing serious.
Friends with benefits, so it's off and on.
He also says they were never really engaged.
Did you ever buy her a ring?
No, I didn't buy her ring.
You guys just like pretend that?
Yeah, we like to run crime.
He also claimed to have no recollection of a miscarriage.
You don't remember her ever talking to you about having a miscarriage? Texting with you about it?
Not sure.
No. Would you remember if she did tell you she had a miscarriage? Is that something that... Right.
Right now, I don't know.
He used the excuse of he doesn't have a good memory.
But he does remember going to LaToya's house for sex.
Do you remember when you were at the house?
In response, detectives show him photos of the hat they recovered from the crime scene.
Does that look familiar? Do you think you've ever worn that hat?
Yeah.
That particular one, not one like it.
Oh, that one like it, I know for sure. But
How about this one in particular?
I have a lot of hats.
But will his memory be any better when it comes to murder?
Would you remember an event like your girlfriend's husband being murdered?
I think so, yeah.
Did you kill Edwin?
Rob Andrews, the man detectives suspect may have murdered Edwin Daniels, has admitted to having an affair with Edwin's wife, LaToya.
He informed the detectives that they've just been friends with benefits for some time.
But will he admit to anything else?
Did you kill Edwin?
I have nothing to do with that.
Rob also claims to have an alibi.
He said he was home at the night of the murder.
Did you go straight home from
Yes,
work?
I went straight home.
Okay. Did you ever leave your house?
No.
After the interview, the detectives reach out to Rob's parents for confirmation.
Rob lives with both of his parents, and they did confirm that Rob was home the night of the murder.
However, detectives don't just take their word for it.
We got a search warrant for his historical cell data to include locations.
His sister spoke with him that night around the time of the murder.
The location data from the call places Rob at home.
So good 30 minutes from the crime scene.
Which makes us believe that Rob was not the killer.
But could Rob's phone records reveal who was?
In the 2 weeks before the murder, Rob and LaToya had over 100 text messages. Rob would refer to LaToya as a goddess.
He clearly was in love with her.
It appears that LaToya was just as enamored with Rob.
LaToya would refer to Rob as her king.
She was clearly in love.
And with Rob ruled out as Edwin's killer, that left only one member of the love triangle.
Detectives believe LaToya carried out this murder so she can continue a relationship with Rob.
Now suspicious of LaToya, it isn't long before detectives find evidence that her relationship with Rob did continue.
I found out that he moved out of his mom's house, and then I found he was living with LaToya.
They moved in together less than a month after Edwin's murder.
And LaToya had moved even faster to collect on Edwin's $100,000 life insurance policy.
Within a week of his death, she put in a claim.
She was denied because the insurance company, they wanted to see if she was a suspect in this case. So I told her, as the case is going, she is a suspect, and so she was never issued the money.
However, for LaToya to be more than just a suspect, detectives need more evidence.
Moving in with Rob looked bad, but it was hardly proof she killed her husband. And Edwin was the family's primary breadwinner. So could you really blame her for trying to collect the insurance money?
What detectives need is a witness, and they may have one. LaToya's friend, Katrina.
Katrina was the friend and the roommate who called 911 after coming home and finding LaToya crying over Edwin's body.
At least that's what she'd said at the time.
Detectives are like, is there something else that Katrina's not telling us?
To find out, the detectives bring her in for another round of questioning. And this time, they turn up the heat.
But what you don't want to do is, get caught trying to cover up for your friend because she was your friend.
Right.
So if you heard something or saw something or know something, now's the time to let us know.
Put on the spot by detectives, Katrina admits that she hadn't told them the whole truth.
Katrina tells the detectives that she lied and that she actually did see Edwin home prior to her leaving for the grocery store.
I left, as soon as he got here. Why'd you leave? I just went to Walmart. I went out, went drive around a little bit or whatever, and then
Because they were fighting.
They all went to arguing about something.
She said that she heard them arguing by the foyer, by the kitchen area, and her door was closed, and she could still hear them arguing, and she didn't want to listen to them, so she left.
Do you know what they're arguing over? I have no idea.
But when she came back, Edwin was dead, and LaToya was hysterical.
Did she say anything? She was out of it. She was like every other word I could understand.
As damning as Katrina's admission is, it's still not enough to put the knife that killed Edwin in LaToya's hand. But detectives don't give up.
Going over the crime scene and the evidence that was collected, he noticed that a knife was found in the kitchen sink. It was a unique-looking knife. The blade itself had 2 prongs, and those prongs were a certain distance apart. He ends up taking photographs of that knife and giving them to the medical examiner, and she's able to tell that some of the injuries are consistent with the knife.
But that's not the only thing detectives notice while reviewing the evidence photos.
The detectives also took a closer look at the shirt LaToya had been wearing that night.
The shirt had blood on it. The blood on the shirt was Edwin's, which was understandable considering she was the one who supposedly found Edwin.
But had she done more than that?
The detectives noticed that some of the blood stains appeared to be impact spatter.
That was a critical piece of evidence.
Whoever was wearing that shirt was within close proximity of the forceful bloodshed.
The only way this could have happened is if LaToya was near Edwin while he was being stabbed.
The day he died, he called me and we had a discussion that very day, about 3 hours prior to his death. I remember in the conversation, he was happy, we'll see each other, we'll talk later, and then to know that night I would have to go find him or find out about him. Only my faith in God helps me through it, keeps me going from day to day.
Detectives investigating Edwin Daniels' murder have uncovered what appears to be a critical piece of evidence against his wife.
Some of the stains on LaToya's shirt appear to match up with various impact stains from Edwin's stabbing.
That tells us that she was in close proximity at the time of forceful bloodshed.
It's enough to arrest LaToya for her husband's murder.
With the forensic evidence, the detectives secure a warrant and bring LaToya in.
We tried to interview her again, and she refused to talk to us.
The arrest is welcome news for Edwin's family.
They were very excited that they were starting to get the little bit of the justice for Edwin.
Even though that did not bring Edwin back, we wanted whoever did this brutal, senseless, evil deed to be persecuted.
Although the identity of Edwin's killer comes as a surprise.
Everybody was shocked. We were stunned. We couldn't believe it.
I was totally floored. I personally had no idea that there was a boyfriend involved, or that she supposedly tried to claim the money like almost instantly.
When LaToya goes on trial in February of 2020, Edwin's family packs the courtroom, determined to see that LaToya answers for her crimes.
Edwin's family clearly loved him. They would show up to every court hearing, 15, 20 people, every single court hearing.
Everything else was not important. This was important.
According to prosecutors, LaToya's horrific act was motivated by her lust for Rob.
You can tell that based on the text messages, based on the fact that after the murder they were together, they moved in together.
And her lust for money.
Their insurance money was very important to LaToya because with her and Rob working in fast food, it would have been quite challenging to continue the lifestyle that LaToya had when she was with Edwin.
So on that Friday the 13th, LaToya made a fatal decision.
When he came home, they're in the foyer, through the garage. She's waiting there.
Hey, we might have to heat these up.
LaToya attacks her husband with a knife.
Katrina, hearing the commotion from upstairs, left out the front door.
She had heard them arguing.
But that night, it wasn't an argument. It was a slaughter.
He was stabbed over 30 times.
He clearly fought for his life. His hands were just brutally cut up.
But there was no stopping LaToya.
He come through the garage and she ambushed him there. He was not expecting that.
I think she had the upper hand advantage.
Then, after a few horrific moments, it was all over.
Once Edwin was dead, LaToya went into the kitchen and washed off the knife and waited for Katrina to return home.
For the prosecutors, the blood spatter on LaToya's shirt proved she was a killer.
She's there when Edwin is being stabbed.
When it's the defense's turn, LaToya's attorneys contend that her boyfriend Rob was Edwin's killer.
The defense tried to argue that he was there trying to kill Edwin and LaToya was there trying to intervene.
That would explain both the blood found on LaToya's shirt and the hat detectives found at the crime scene.
The prosecution counters by claiming there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for the hat.
On the wall of the hallway where the murder occurred, there was a row of hooks. The hat may have fallen off during the struggle between Edwin and LaToya, and that's how it ended up under his body.
LaToya was plotting from the very beginning to pin this on someone else by telling her friend it was Rob's hat.
But will it be enough to erase any reasonable doubt when the case goes to the jury?
My heart was racing. I was nervous because I'm like, okay, what if they believe what she said? What if they believe the boyfriend did it?
We just kept praying and saying, God, give them the information or the evidence that they need.
In the end, the family's prayers are answered when the jury finds LaToya guilty of second-degree murder.
She was sentenced to life in prison.
When they announced the verdict, it was a silence and then it was screams. I literally fell off the bench. I'm like, yes, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. I said, Lord, I thank you, God, for answering prayer.
She got what she deserved.
But even if LaToya is where she belongs, it doesn't make up for what she did to their family.
I feel sad for the girls.
They lost not just one parent, but both parents. The two girls ended up with LaToya's mother.
And they have little contact with their father's side of the family.
She calls and she brings them around for holidays and birthdays so we can at least see them. But that's about it.
They were told that somebody broke in the house and somebody killed your dad, and mom had to go to the hospital, mom had to go away for a little bit, and they know she's in prison, but they probably weren't told all the truth.
In the meantime, all Edwin's family can do is mourn and remember the man that LaToya took from them.
I miss him, I love him, and I wish he was still here. I have a deep hole in my heart.
He was a wonderful brother, He was loving, and he would want you to know that he wants you to live life, be happy, and enjoy the time that God has given us on this earth.
She was a beautiful cheerleader with a radiant personality.
People loved her. She was so exuberant and outgoing.
He was the handsome bachelor that kept her coming back for more.
He had a lot of charisma.
They sparked when they were together.
But those sparks ignited a firestorm when their relationship was rocked by a terrifying crime.
When the details started coming out, they were shocked. It's like, oh my God.
The ensuing search for a killer will leave a community reeling and unearth a treasure trove of Tawdry's secrets that have been smoldering for years.
She just started wailing. And she pointed at her and she said, God is going to punish you. You realize that you're really dealing with a complete sociopath. It has to take somebody very wicked to be able to do something like that.
December 30th, 2010. It's a dark winter morning in Gainesville, Florida. But on County Road 225, things are heating up.
The call came out around 2:30 in the morning. Dispatch had called, and initially they said that there had been a brush fire.
It's out in what people would call the boonies. You know, very deserted.
As firefighters rush to contain the blaze, they make a horrifying discovery.
Wait. Is that a body?
There was a fire that was burning, and when the fire department showed up, they discovered there was a burnt body. The firemen didn't touch the body, barely misted the body down with water at that point, which was all very good to try to preserve evidence.
Dispatch, we have a body. Going to start forensics.
It was obvious it was foul play. I mean, you find a body on the side of the road that's been set on fire out in the middle of nowhere. That doesn't happen.
Crime scene investigators are called in to take a closer look at the burnt corpse.
When I walked up with my flashlight, you could see the charred brush behind the body, and you could see the charred remains. The body was burned very bad. It appeared to have been wrapped in some type of comforter before it was set on fire.
As detectives work to ID the victim, little do they know that their investigation will soon collide with another case. One rooted in obsession, conspiracy, and a rage born of unbridled jealousy. One that would ultimately center on a beautiful, unassuming West African immigrant. Born in the Republic of Ghana in 1989, Celia Huda was a young child when she and her family immigrated to Gainesville, Florida.
We were always told that you get the better opportunities here in America. So in terms of education, my parents wanted to give us that opportunity.
A bright and vivacious teen, Celia took full advantage of every opportunity America afforded her.
She started dual enrollment, I want to say in the 11th grade. So she went to school part of the day, and then the other part she would go off campus to the university.
Celia was very bright. She knew she wanted to help people in some manner, and eventually set her sights on nursing.
Determined to follow her dream, Celia enrolled full-time at the University of Florida in 2007. It was there that the young co-ed discovered another passion, dancing.
She loved dance and was very, very good at it. It was what she lived and breathed for.
She was pursuing her nursing degree, and at the same time, she was a competitive cheerleader for University of Florida, and she was a part of the dance team that pretty much competed all around Florida.
Naturally, the boys on campus found Celia irresistible.
Here she is, this beautiful brown, curvy cheerleader, dancer. You know, she had beautiful hazel eyes. When you think about it, you know, what was not to love?
In 2008, Celia's good looks and lively spirit caught the attention of someone special, 24-year-old Antonio Drayton.
I believe that they met at a club in Gainesville.
Celia was immediately taken by Antonio's sense of humor.
He was the guy everyone went to get laughs, and, you know, he was out in the clubs, and he was fun.
Señora, ¿me dejas con something?
Okay.
Okay.
You're okay. I mean, you're doing your little thing. He's one of those people who draws women into him. Smooth talking and simple conversation. Just things things that attractive guys do.
You mind if I take you out sometime on a date or something?
I would like that.
Here are these two people that love life, and they got together, they sparked.
And from that night on, they were inseparable for the next couple of years.
She loved life so much, and was just in love, you know, just so happy.
Celia seemed like she had everything going for her.
But in December of 2010, Celia's plans take an unexpected detour. It starts when the 21-year-old's family realizes that they haven't heard from her for 2 whole days.
Her mother called me on New Year's Eve, and she's like, you know, hey, have you heard from her? And I was like, no. So I'm calling around. Nobody's heard from her.
I know my mom was trying to get a hold of her. My brother's calling, I'm calling, and we're going back and forth, but then her phone kept going straight to voicemail. My mom's like, you know what, we need to go file a missing persons report because it's been 2-3 days now. We haven't heard anything.
Just hours after Celia's family filed the missing persons report, the police were out looking for her.
After several hours into their search, police still haven't found Celia.
In the missing persons case, the first 48 hours are crucial. If a person isn't found during that time period, then the likelihood of them being found alive decreases significantly.
But just when the search for Celia is getting underway, 911 operators receive another disturbing call. One that will infuse the search for Celia with an ever more desperate sense of urgency and force her family to keep their worst fears at bay.
I feel like something has happened. I don't know what, but I do feel like something has happened.
In the fall of 2010, vivacious University of Florida cheerleader and nursing student Celia Huda was living life to the fullest.
She took her academics very seriously, but she loved cheerleading and dance.
She had a boyfriend she thought hung the moon, 24-year-old Antonio Drayton. They were a perfect couple.
Celia had everything going for her, but in late December, the young co-ed unexpectedly vanished.
Her family wanted to report a missing person because they haven't spoken with their daughter for a couple days.
The first place police visit is Celia's off-campus apartment. The landlord unlocks her door. They're surprised to hear muffled noises coming from inside.
Hear that?
I did. They make their way through the apartment. They don't notice anything unusual, but they hear a noise in the bathroom.
Just wait right there.
As the officer slowly opens the door, they're met with an unexpected surprise.
It was Celia's dog.
How long have you been in there?
This is a dog that she's adopted, and the dog had probably been in the bathroom for days.
Unfortunately, the dog is all the officer finds.
Everything in the apartment looked normal. There was no sign of struggle, foul play, or anything missing.
Echo 16 dispatch. Be advised there's no sign of the residence. However, there is a large dog.
Outside, there's no sign of Celia's 2001 Nissan Sentra.
I was just like, I wonder if maybe she's taking a trip somewhere or going out of town or something.
But as detectives ponder that possibility, dispatchers inform them of a stomach-churning development on a remote highway.
The Alachua County Sheriff's Office was notified of a homicide on State Road 225, just north of the Gainesville Raceway.
Dispatch had called my work phone, and initially they said that there had been a brush fire, and as firefighters were extinguishing the fire, they had located a body.
This is the first time, and I've been doing this for 16 years, where a body was set on the side of the road and set on fire. And this was unusual for Gainesville.
The victim has been burned so badly that immediate identification is impossible. As word of the murder makes its way back into town, Celia's family can't help but fear the worst.
I was like, I feel like something has happened. And then my friend Kai was like, well, God forbid she be that burned body that they found. And as soon as she said that, like, a huge chill just went right through me.
At the crime scene, CSIs work to secure the area.
Crime scene obviously was out there, and that was a very important part of this case of any physical evidence. We had lots of trash that was up and down the road.
We located a balled up piece of napkin about 20 feet away from the body. And the napkin didn't appear to have any type of bodily fluids. I felt it was more worthy for it to go to the state lab in case someone had used it to wipe their hands, wipe their mouth.
While the napkin and the other debris may ultimately help ID the victim, or even the killer. Processing this type of evidence can take weeks. In the meantime, detectives begin looking into recent missing persons reports.
Just wanted to find out what kind of missing persons you all have within the past week.
We started looking at, any missing persons, not just from this area, but really the state of Florida, the whole southeast region.
Yeah, I've got a female here about 5 foot tall. The body was so badly charred that the detectives could only determine that the victim was petite and likely an African American. Of the open missing persons cases in the area in Florida at the time, Celia Huda's case seemed to be the most likely match.
Got a tattoo here.
Something?
Yeah.
What you got?
The body investigators found had some distinctive tattoos, so they contacted her brother.
Hello? This is Detective Zach Sedalis. Just wanted to know, your sister, did she have any tattoos on her body?
I'm not sure exactly. I can call my sister and find out and give you a call back.
I remember my brother calling me and he's asking me, does my sister have any tattoos? And I'm like, well, I only know of like maybe 1 or 2.
Tattoos? Yeah, she has a couple. There's one on her foot.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Make sure you call me back.
All right.
Minutes later, Sean's phone rings again.
I picked up the phone.
Oh, hello?
All I heard was my mom screaming in the background.
Bro. Oh my gosh.
And he didn't have to say anything else to me. Just hearing her screaming just told me it's Celia.
She was the burning body found on the side of the raceway. And I sat there for a minute and I was just like, oh my God.
I just lost my mind. I'm just like, there's no way that this has happened.
Who does that? Who set somebody's body on fire?
We're gonna go ahead and go. You just stick around and...
With Celia's body now identified by her tattoos, detectives must now determine if fire was the initial cause of death.
Detectives ordered the body to the medical examiner's office to perform an autopsy to determine a cause of death.
During the autopsy, the medical examiners could tell if the cause of death was asphyxiation. It seemed like someone put their hands around her neck and kept squeezing, and squeezed too long.
Detectives are shocked to learn that Celia died from asphyxia, not from the fire. They reach out to her family to learn more about their victim's personal life.
You really have to dig into who the victim is and what's going on in their life at the time, and their history. And that's kind of where you get the start, especially when you come to the people who know her the best.
We start talking to the family about who was she dating, and Antonio Drayton's name kept coming up.
They'd been together for 2 years. They were madly in love. He may hold the key in helping detectives determine who may have done this to Celia.
But what Antonio Drayton tells investigators will unleash a flood of potential suspects that threatens to forever drown the case in mystery.
He definitely was a young man who had several relationships with several different women at the same time.
A missing person case in Gainesville, Florida has taken a heartbreaking turn. On January 1st, 2011, police identify a burned body on the side of County Road 225 as that of 21-year-old University of Florida cheerleader Celia Huda.
At that time, I almost felt like it was a dream, that there's no way that this has happened.
She was well liked. She was respected. She really was loved. And I think that's why her murder hit everyone so hard. How did this beautiful, young, vibrant lady end up murdered?
That's the same question detectives are asking. Hoping to learn more about their victim, detectives ask Celia's boyfriend, Antonio Drayton, to come in for an interview.
He loved her. They were close. If anyone could help detectives determine what happened to Celia, it was Antonio.
From the moment Antonio sits down, it's obvious Celia's death has devastated him.
Well, he seemed distraught. He seemed upset.
She didn't deserve to die like this.
You're right about that. You're right about that. Like, y'all got laws on the land?
But as detectives listen to Antonio talk, it isn't long before he makes a startling confession.
She dated you and you dated her, and that was it?
Oh, no, man. That's, I was seeing other women, that sort of thing. But she took it as I was her boyfriend. She didn't know none of this at first.
He was a ladies' man. He had quite a few girlfriends.
She didn't know about any other girl. She felt like it was me and her, and I led her on to think that. But it caught up with me because stuff started hitting the fan.
According to Antonio, in the fall of 2010, Celia found out about all his other love interests.
She knew he was seeing other women on the side, so they got into a lot of arguments about that.
The image of Antonio, the picture-perfect boyfriend, was quickly replaced with Antonio, the womanizer.
But Antonio's indiscretions are also his alibi. He claims that on the night Celia disappeared, he was with another longtime lover, a 42-year-old lab clerk named Cassandra Kimbrough.
When Antonio, she was involved sexually with him, and she was providing Antonio with money and means to pay rent.
We kind of called it his sugar mama because she pretty much did everything for him, always giving him money, always did whatever he wanted.
Given the nature of their relationship, could Antonio's sugar mama, Cassandra, have conspired to get rid of Celia?
You have Antonio who was involved with Celia, and so there's kind of that love triangle. Maybe she was upset or jealous of Celia, maybe she committed the crime.
But Antonio isn't done talking. He tells police he has a third woman in his life, and this one has had a volatile history with Celia.
Antonio was also messing around with another woman named Angela. As you can imagine, there was some friction between Angela and Celia.
Excuse me, who are you? Who are you? I see you at my man.
Celia found out about Angela in the fall of 2010. There were some allegations of physical altercation, and Celia possibly sending her some threatening text messages.
Oh, okay. I'm Angela. You know that he's on the side? Is that who you are, Angela? Angela?
It had escalated to the point where Angela filed a restraining order in October of 2010. Given their volatile history, detectives knew they needed to speak to Angela.
As detectives wrap up their interview with Antonio, he complies with one last request: to submit a DNA sample and grant investigators access to his cell phone.
He seemed very, very cooperative with the investigation and didn't seem like he was trying to hide anything whatsoever.
With Antonio's interview completed, detectives begin tracking down their two new suspects, Antonio's lovers, Cassandra and Angela. But before they can do so, police receive another lead. Another young man has called the station, and he too claims to be Celia's boyfriend. His name is Mike Campbell.
Mike claims he and Celia have been seeing each other for about a couple of weeks, so detectives asked him to come down for an interview.
They apparently met online, and Mike was immediately and completely smitten with her. As far as Mike knew, Celia was no longer seeing Antonio.
Did y'all get along very well? That's that. Did you ever fight? What's that?
It was pretty clear to police, just by looking at Mike, that he was devastated, and he didn't have anything to do with the crime.
Mike Campbell tells police that on December 29th, roughly 24 hours prior to Celia's disappearance, the two of them spent nearly the entire day together.
She brought me home that afternoon, probably like 6 or 7 when it got dark.
Hey, you gonna call me, right?
I'll call you later.
Okay. Drive safe, all right?
Michael did try to contact Celia on the evening of the 29th. He was unable to get in touch with her.
I ain't never even called back. When I was gonna call her, I'm straight to the answer machine.
Hey, Celia, this is Mike. Miss you. Call me back.
Mike tells detectives that a few minutes later, he tried Celia's phone again.
That's when things got really interesting.
Hello? Can I speak to Celia?
I would like to talk.
Well, let her know that I called.
A unidentified female answered the phone and basically said that Celia was sleeping. He thought that was quite odd, and then hung, obviously hung up.
Does she sound white or black? She from black, Hispanic, black, black.
For police, Mike Campbell's statement is a revelation.
Could the unidentified female on the other end of the line be Celia's killer?
Police aren't sure, but after hearing that Angela and Celia had issues, police knew they had to track down this woman as soon as possible.
Less than 48 hours after finding University of Florida cheerleader Celia Huda's burnt body along a county road just outside of Gainesville, Florida, detectives have made a startling discovery. It turns out Celia's boyfriend of 2 years, Antonio Drayton, wasn't exactly monogamous.
By his own admission, he was seeing at least 2 other women, Cassandra and Angela. Once more, there was bad blood between Angela and Celia.
But that's not all. Mike Campbell, a man who claims to be Celia's new boyfriend, has provided police with another clue.
Mike called the phone twice the evening that she disappeared.
Call me back when you get this message.
And the
first time he called, he got voicemail. And he called again, and then a unidentified female answered the phone and basically said that Celia was sleeping.
The next question is, who was this woman?
Police start by trying to locate Antonio Drayton's two other lovers.